Alright, Angry Scotsman, it's taken me months of searching, headaches, and epic punches. Now I have to ask, what's the idea of stealing my bots?
It's simple. I was getting sick of you beating me up all the time. I thought if you stole your robots from me, you wouldn't have that advantage over me anymore.
Well, that's just stupid.
What's wrong with the robots you have now? Aren't they good enough?
They are. They just don't. It's not the same thing at all. You didn't understand me. You don't ken that.
Well, congratulations! You beat me in my last match. Can I have my bots back?
Alright, on one condition.
Fine, shoot.
You have to review the movie. You know, the thing your tiny robots like.
Oh god, that's a Video Brinquedo movie. They're one of the worst animated film companies in the world.
Alright, fine. I'll review the movie, and then you'll give me back my bots.
Can we help?
No! Just go over there and look at some robot porn.
Yay!
Well, now that we've got that distraction out of the way, let's get down to business. Now for those of you wondering, what is Video Brinquedo? Well, Video Brinquedo is a Brazilian animation studio that specializes in making cheap, shitty-ass CGI ripoffs of animated films from Disney and DreamWorks. These include The Little Cars, Little Princess School, The Little Panda Fighter, and Ratatouille. Ah, Brazil. Home of the world's greatest soccer team, craziest Ramones fans, and a shitty animation studio featuring a movie where a rat pulls cheese out of his crotch. What a load of smeg. Anyway, one particular entry in their long list of unoriginality is Robozinhos, which translate to little robots, or in this case, tiny robots. This hunk of scrap is known for salvaging a lot of elements from 20th Century Fox's Robots and Pixar's WALL-E. Being the robot guy that I am, I'm up to the challenge of riffing on this movie in order to get my bots back. Besides, I've always wanted to have a stab at Video Brinquedo's garbage. But does it hold up at all? Well, let's give it a watch. Let the wars begin. So we begin our adventure in the futuristic world of New Iron City, or as I like to call it, Bland Lego Island. Its inhabitants consist of autonomous robots running around living human lives. You know, like that other movie? Of course, robots don't eat food to get energy. No. Instead, they plug themselves into simple power outlets scattered throughout the city. No, I'm serious. Screw your fancy schmancy plutonium-powered generators, your NiCad servo tech chargers, and even your Vision Peak Ultra. No, just plug your bot into your wall, fill her up, and have a nice day. It's here that we're introduced to our protagonist named Trank. Unlike his robot pals, Trank was not factory-built, but actually human-built. Yeah, all it took was a computer monitor, a honey pot, and an oscillating fan, and boom! You got yourself a robot. But other than his appearance, Trank really doesn't have much of a personality. His character just comes off as, well, robotic.
Trank does not realize it yet, but something is about to happen that will change the life of his family and friends forever.
So the robots get an announcement from the robot leader and... Okay, apparently in the future it's mandatory for the leader to wear a big phallic hat as his way of symbolizing that he's got bigger nuts than the rest of these guys.
While the system has worked for many eons, the time has come for us to create a new kind of system. One that provides a better way of life where no one does without. And there's more freedom for our citizens. After much scientific investigation, your leader has discovered a most perfect solution. An abundant amount of precious organic fuel has recently been unearthed by government scientists that will be distributed generously from an undisclosed location so that you may enjoy more leisure and a better quality of life.
I think this really means there'll be no more work for anyone.
And that's not all. I don't like the idea of having to be dependent on the leader for everything.
Uh-huh. Totally sounds legit to me. So the robots are given the power upgrade, and everybody immediately fecks off, except for Trank. So we cut to Trank's house, and oh yeah, just add one of your popular characters in as an Easter egg. Like people actually give a crap about the little cars. So Trank talks to his grandpa. Wait, grandpa? I thought he was man-made. Anyway, Grandpa pretty much states the polar opposite of what the leader said. And at this point, the movie is starting to sound like a political debate.
Don't tell me we're going back to oil and electricity. No, there's some new organic energy source that'll supply the fuel for the whole city without the need for factories. But that doesn't make any sense! New organic who's it what now? What kind of bunk are they giving us? And I'd like to know what kind of energy could be more organic than solar power! I don't know, Grandpa. I think it's kind of strange, too. They say it's coming to us from an undisclosed location. What's that? I tell you, nothing good can come from a situation like this, my boy. I've seen it happen too often in the past. Thriving cities destroyed by greed, selfishness, and trickery.
Man, this is a political debate. I ain't sitting through this again. So we cut to the next day, where Trank wakes up from a nightmare. Which we never see, because that would have actually made this movie a little exciting. He goes into the living room to find that Grandpa has disappeared, and there's a giant hole in the wall. I guess iJustine was having too much fun with that portal gun. Trank leaves the house, only to get chased by two Securitrons who are capturing non-factory-made robots. The chase is one of the most boring chases I've ever seen in my life. The only reason to watch it is to admire the awesome photoshopped circuit board lawns. What, do they have capacitors for trees?
Do something! Gah.
So, Trank manages to glide over the wall surrounding the city and ends up in the desert? So let me get this straight. You have a giant city consisting entirely of technologically advanced androids, and yet they didn't develop anything beyond city limits? And how the hell can Trank hover across the sand, but these guys can't? They have hovercrafts! I'm sure they'd be more powerful than an electric fan. So, Trank travels across miles of desert before his lipos finally run dry, and he falls asleep in the sand. The next day, a robot driving a pimped-out version of Luke Skywalker's Sandspeeder shows up and scoops Trank into his garbage bin, and... Wait, didn't Trank run out of energy? How is he still going?
Who are you guys?
So Trank meets the driver, who calls himself Tron 2B. Once again, he's just as bland as uninteresting as the other bots. Only difference is he's covered in spaghetti sauce. He's joined by Nev 1, this Wheatley knockoff with two TIE fighter wings sticking out of his side. And I'll say this right now, Nev 1, worst character in this movie!
Junk is alive! The junk is alive! Help! Somebody help! Ah! Danger! Danger!
I swear, he sounds like a Dalek if it was possessed by Merrick Ishtar. So, Trank tells him about how his grandpa was botnapped and how he wants to get back to his original builder. So the bots head to an old scrapyard and... Wait, isn't that Grandpa? I swear, every bot in this movie looks exactly the same.
What do we have here?
We've never seen it before. It must have gotten in there by accident. Honest.
You know, this isn't too bad. I could use this for my grill.
What do you need a grill for? Robots don't eat! And then we get this scene where Tron, for some reason, leaves Trank on a scrap pile, and then he has to save Trank from being dropped into a pixelated melting pot. Okay, Tron, I just have to ask, why did you even bring Trank to the scrapyard if you knew he was going to get in trouble? Wouldn't it have made more sense to just leave him in the desert, drop off your shit, then go back and get him? The only purpose of this scene...
My nightmare, I can't believe it, it's coming true!
Oh, so you couldn't film an actual dream sequence, but you could still film this? What dumbasses wrote this? I'm guessing it was Bender.
You want to talk? Yeah.
So the trio head to the electric forest where all the human builders are said to be living. Oh, sort of like the Axiom! Then they get attacked by this giant red fire hydrant that just comes out of nowhere and starts sucking the energy out of everybody. But then Trank diverts the monster into one of the electric trees, which immobilizes the robot, and once again, this scene has absolutely no effect on the story, and is only there to give this boring hunk of scrap some action, which it still fails at. So the trio make their way through the forest, which looks so barren and empty that it might as well be a meadow. Suddenly, they run into what looks like a ghost, only to find out that it's a hologram made by Trank's creator. And before you ask, no, he doesn't have a name. They just call him Builder. Although he does have a pretty cool set of blue Pokeballs, a cheap-looking ATST, the PS Triple, and wait, isn't that a hoverboard ripped straight from Back to the Future Part 2? Come on, Mattel, you've got 2 more years! Give us our hoverboards now, damn it!
I can't deny you're one of mine, all right. You are one of my first models. I always put a code on the neck.
I don't remember anything like that.
That's quite normal, my boy. A non-industrial model such as yourself will only store events after its 2nd year of life activity.
How many years have I been alive?
If memory serves me correctly, that'd be about 40 or so years.
40 years? That's it? Then how long did it take to design and build the 500 robots we saw earlier? A couple days?
Trank's parts look like they may be a bit older than that.
Trank himself was designed and built 40 years ago. But the parts used to construct him were much older, perhaps more than 1,000 years or so. At that time, there were no robots and only humans populated the Earth.
A planet without robots? Amazing!
So wait, if this guy built Trank 40 years ago, then where did he get the parts from 1,000 years ago? Did the factory he worked at just keep them around for the past millennium until they were finally ready to use them? Surely after all that time, those parts would have all burnt out or deteriorated. Oh my god, and this scene is still going on. We get this gigantic exposition dump about how Trank and his grandpa were built. Then the bots tell him about how the leader has pretty much brainwashed all the new model robots with the system upgrade, and has kidnapped Grandpa since he doesn't have the technology for it, and blah, blah, blah! Oh, man!